The morning began like any other on Earth, but far above the clouds, hundreds of alien eyes were watching. For years, the galactic fleet had observed this small blue planet with a mixture of curiosity and boredom. To them, humanity was still in its early steps of technology. They were loud, unpredictable, and aggressive. But their weapons were slow compared to the energy beams and plasma bolts of the galaxy. In the official council records, Earth was listed as harmless. That was about to change. The first sign came. As a vibration through space, it was faint at first, a deep hum that ran like a ripple across orbital stations. One alien technician aboard the monitoring platform, Kareth 4, looked up from his console, his tendrils curling in confusion. Sensors were picking up a strange electromagnetic surge from the Pacific region of Earth. It wasn't like a missile launch. It wasn't like any nuclear test they had seen before. It was something else. On the surface, inside a heavily guarded military installation, engineers moved quickly around a massive steel barrel that stretched longer than a football field. It rested on a reinforced platform, hidden from the sky by layers of camouflage netting. This was humanity's first railgun, a weapon that used magnetic fields to launch projectiles at speeds no chemical rocket could match. Years of secrecy had led to this moment. The scientists called it Project Horizon, but the soldiers had another name for it: the Earthshaker, Colonel Harris. The man in charge stood on the control deck, watching as the final connections were locked into place. His voice was calm, but his hands were tight behind his back. This was more than a weapons test. This was a message. The target was a drifting asteroid far out in space, chosen because it posed no threat to Earth. But if the weapon worked, it would be impossible to hide its power from the galaxy. Harris wasn't sure if that was a good thing or not. In orbit, alien commanders exchanged worried messages. The energy readings kept climbing. Some thought it was a failed experiment that might explode in Earth's own atmosphere. Others weren't so sure. The readings showed precision, not chaos. Something was being aimed. On the ground, a red light blinked on the control panel. The weapon was charged. The atmosphere inside the room grew heavy as the crew prepared for the countdown. The railgun's long steel rails hummed with power, a low sound that seemed to sink into the bones. 9-8. Far above, alien warships adjusted their positions, training their sensors on the launch site. Reports flooded in from listening posts all across the solar system. They could feel that something dangerous was about to happen. 3, 2, 1. Psst. The shot was silent. There was no thunder, no explosion, only a sudden flash of light as the projectile left the barrel at over 7 kilometers per second. To human eyes, it vanished instantly. To alien instruments, it was a terrifying spike of kinetic force, unlike anything Earth had ever fired. The projectile tore through the emptiness of space, crossing the distance to the asteroid in seconds. Then, without warning, the asteroid split apart. Not cracked. Split. The two halves drifted away from each other in slow motion, pieces scattering like frozen dust into the dark. For a moment, there was silence both on Earth and in orbit. The scientists stared at their screens. The alien observers froze at their stations. It wasn't just the power of the shot, it was the speed. Nothing they had seen from humanity should have been able to do that. Inside the alien flagship near Mars, Admiral Tavar narrowed his eyes. His people had fought many wars, and he knew what this meant. A weapon like this could punch through shields. A weapon like this could destroy a capital ship in a single hit. On Earth, Colonel Harris exhaled. Slowly, his face unreadable. Data logs, he ordered quietly. Record everything. But deep inside, he knew the truth. Every alien in the solar system had already seen it. There was no hiding what they had done. Back in the Galactic Council, far across the stars, a holographic image of the event flickered before alien leaders. They watched the asteroid split apart again and again, slowing the footage until it seemed unreal. They had always believed humanity was centuries away from matching galactic weaponry. But in one day, in one shot, Earth had jumped forward. That night, as humans slept under a calm sky, the galaxy did not. Across alien worlds, military fleets were put on alert. Spies were sent toward Earth, and deep inside council chambers, the debate began: was humanity a future ally, or a threat that must be destroyed before it was too late? The day had begun with the quiet hum of power. It ended with a silence heavier than any war drum. Somewhere in the shadows of space, plans were already being made. Far below, on the surface of the blue planet, the Earthshaker's rails cooled in the night air. It's waiting for the next shot. A thin layer of morning clouds drifted over the Pacific, hiding the massive weapon beneath the waves anchored to a floating platform. Disguised as an old cargo ship, the Earthshaker Railgun waited. The first test had been a success, but this time would be different. This time, the target was not a drifting asteroid in empty space. This time, humanity wanted the galaxy to notice. Colonel Harris stood on the command deck staring at the countdown. Clock engineers moved around him, making last-minute adjustments. The weapon was charged again, the long steel rails glowing faintly as magnetic coils hummed with power. But Harris was aware of something: new eyes, not just human eyes. Above the clouds, alien surveillance ships had moved closer, their silver hulls glinting in the sunlight. They weren't hiding anymore in orbit. Captain Verith of the Zalin observation fleet kept his gaze fixed on the human platform below. He had been ordered to watch, not interfere, but his claws dug into the armrests of his chair. The humans had no right to wield a weapon like this. Not yet. Not without the Council's approval. But there was a strange burning feeling in his chest. Fear. Back on Earth, the order came through. Target locked. Ready to fire. The new target was an alien-made derelict satellite, a relic left drifting in Earth's orbit decades ago. Officially, it was junk. Unofficially, it was a warning shot aimed directly at the alien fleet. The countdown began. 10, 9. The air around the platform felt electric, like a storm about to break. The sound was the same deep hum. As before, but louder now, a growl that rattled the bones. In orbit, alien officers began shouting over each other. They saw the weapon align. They saw the energy spike. Some demanded immediate, evasive maneuvers. Others insisted humanity wouldn't dare aim at alien property. They were wrong. 3, 2, 1. The flash was faster than thought. The projectile screamed out of the barrel, cutting through the atmosphere without slowing, vanishing into the sky. For a split second, nothing seemed to happen. Then the derelict satellite burst into 1,000 fragments, each glowing like falling stars. But that wasn't what made the aliens panic. The railgun round had passed within only a few hundred meters of one of their surveillance ships. The shockwave of displaced air and debris slammed into its hull, making the entire vessel shudder. Warnings blared through its systems. It was a miss, but a deliberate one. On the human platform, Colonel Harris didn't smile. He simply said, "Message sent." His crew stayed silent. They all knew. Every alien commander in orbit now understood. Earth could hit them whenever it wanted, in Captain Verith's ship. Silence replaced the chaos. His crew stared at him, waiting for orders, but he had none. There was nothing they could do without starting a war, and the Council had not yet decided. He looked once more at the blue planet below, his voice low and tight. "They're not what we thought." Far away on dozens of alien worlds, news feeds replayed the footage. The human's weapon fired without flame or smoke, only speed and precision. To many, it was terrifying. To others, it was impressive. But to all, it was undeniable proof. Humanity was no longer a harmless newcomer. That night, under the still skies of Earth, the ocean swayed gently around the hidden platform. The Earthshaker's rails cooled again, but whispers of its second shot were already racing faster than light through the galaxy. And somewhere in the council chambers, a voice finally spoke what many feared to say aloud. If they can do this. Now, what will they be in 50 years? The railgun had fired again, and the galaxy was no longer watching in boredom. Now, it was watching in fear. Far from Earth, in the vast and glittering halls of the Great Galactic Council, a strange and heavy silence filled the chamber. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat in their seats, each one watching the same replay over and over. The human railgun's second shot, slicing past an alien surveillance ship and shattering its target in one clean strike. The image froze on the moment the alien vessel shook from the passing projectile. No one spoke for several minutes. In the galaxy's long history, such silence was rare. The council was normally a place of constant noise, arguments, accusations, and endless speeches. But this time, even the loudest voices stayed still. The last time a weapon of this type had appeared in galactic history. 3 powerful civilizations had fallen in less than a decade. Finally, the first speaker of the council, a towering being with silver skin and eyes like molten gold, broke the silence. "We must discuss," she said, her voice slow, deliberate. "Humanity has crossed a line." Around the chamber, murmurs rose. Some representatives nodded, their faces hard with fear. Others leaned forward with interest. Small number even smiled. Ambassador Teeler of the Vriken Union slammed a clawed hand on the desk. "This weapon violates every limit placed on a developing world. They were meant to be contend-guided, watched, not given freedom to threaten our fleets." From across the hall, the representative of the Yevron Confederacy spoke calmly. "And yet no fleet was destroyed. No lives were lost. They aimed carefully to make a point without starting war. That is strategic thinking." Strategic Tlur growled. "It is defiance." Back on the observation fleet near Earth, Captain Verth's report was already streaming into the Council's private networks. He described the second shot, the way it had passed dangerously close to his vessel, and how it had been deliberate. He also admitted something unusual. Humans did not appear to fear the alien presence at all. Instead, they acted as though they had always been equals. In a side chamber of the council building, away from the public debate, smaller groups met in secret. Some spoke of sending a strike fleet to Earth immediately, before humanity could build more of these weapons. Others whispered about the value of having humans as allies, bold, unpredictable, and now armed with a weapon that could challenge even the largest warships. One particular faction, led by a shadowed figure known only as the Arbiter, began drafting a plan. "We do not strike now," the Arbiter said. "We watch. We learn. We find out how they built it. And then we take it." Meanwhile, word of the council meeting had leaked to the outer colonies. Civilian networks began running endless commentary about the Deathworlders and their new weapon. On mining stations, in trade hubs, and aboard long-haul freighters, aliens debated whether the humans were the beginning of a new era or the start of the next great galactic war. Back on Earth, Colonel Harris received a coded transmission from a deep space listening station. The message was short: multiple ships inbound, unknown intent. He stared at the screen for a long time. Duh! The first 2 railgun shots had been a warning to the galaxy. Now it seemed the galaxy was ready to answer in the council chamber. The first speaker called for silence again. Her golden eyes swept across the room. Decisions must be made. Do we extend the hand of friendship, or do we raise the blade? No one answered immediately. The galaxy was balancing on the edge of a choice, and whichever way it fell, humanity's name would be written in history forever. The message came without warning. In the middle of the night, deep inside a secure communications bunker in Alaska, an operator sat back in his chair, sipping lukewarm coffee. The radar screens were calm, the stars outside steady and quiet. Then his headset crackled, not with static, but with a voice that did not belong to any human. It was deep, layered, and impossible to mistake for anything natural. "Cease your weapon, or face extinction." The words repeated 3 times, each slower than the last, before the signal cut off completely. No coordinates, no explanation, it's just the warning. Within an hour, every key figure in Earth's defense network was awake. In a sealed conference room beneath the Pentagon, military commanders, scientists, and political leaders crowded around a projection of the signal's waveform. Experts confirmed it wasn't a human transmission. The frequency, the pattern, it all matched alien communication protocols. Colonel Harris stood at the edge of the table, arms crossed, his eyes on the message text floating in midair. "They're trying to scare us," he said flatly. "The worst thing we could do now is act scared." Others disagreed. The government advisor slammed his palm on the table. They sent ships. We're done. You think one railgun will stop an entire fleet? Across the room, Dr. Elaine Carter, the lead engineer of Project Horizon, spoke quietly but firmly. It's not one railgun anymore. She brought up a map showing 2 more construction sites, one hidden in the Andes, another deep beneath the Antarctic ice. And by the time they decide to attack, there will be more. Meanwhile, high above Earth, alien task force ships were already adjusting their orbits. From his command chair, Captain Verith read the Council's latest order. Observe final human response. If hostile, prepare to strike. His claws tapped against the armrest. They will fire again, he muttered to himself. I can feel it. Back on Earth, a decision was made. The second test had been a warning to the galaxy. The third would be an answer to the alien threat. But this time, the target was chosen carefully, a large piece of debris drifting dangerously close to an alien surveillance ship. Close enough to make a statement. The day of the firing, the railgun platform in the Pacific rose from its hidden position beneath the waves. Ocean spray hissed off its armored plating. Engineers moved with precision, loading the projectile and locking the rails. Alien ships in orbit began broadcasting new warnings. Do not proceed. This action will be considered aggression. The human operators ignored them. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Inside the alien task force flagship, Captain Verith leaned forward. If they fire, he began, but didn't finish. His crew already knew. 3, 2, 1. The projectile tore into the sky, so fast it seemed to vanish. Sensors on the alien ship flared with alarms as the shot passed less than a kilometer from their position, shattering the targeted debris into glowing fragments. The shockwave rattled the alien vessel from bow to stern. Got Colonel Harris, watching from the command deck, didn't cheer. He simply turned to his officers. They wanted an answer. Now they have it. Far above, Captain Verith stared at the shattered debris field. His jaw tightened. He knew what the Council's next move would be. And somewhere in the endless dark, beyond the solar system, fleets were already mobilizing. The message had been sent in both directions now, clear and irreversible. Night fell quietly over the Pacific, but the ocean was not calm. Beneath the moonlit waves, massive shapes moved alien warships, gliding just above the waterline, their sleek black hulls reflecting faint starlight. They made no sound, no ripple. Beyond what the sea allowed, from a distance, they looked like shadows given form. In orbit, more ships appeared, slipping out of faster-than-light transit one after another. Within hours, Earth's night sky glittered with new, unfamiliar lights. Some were motionless. Others moved slowly, circling. The alien task force had arrived in full strength. On the railgun platform in the Pacific, the crew had been ordered to full alert. Colonel Harris stood at the center of the command deck, scanning the tactical display. Red dots marked the alien ships and atmosphere. Dozens more hovered above, positioned like claws ready to close. Any communications? He asked. Only one, sir, replied the communications officer. She pressed a key, and a voice filled the room, calm, but edged with steel. This is Captain Verith of the Zalan fleet. Power down your weapon immediately. Any further firings will be treated as acts of war. Harris didn't respond right away. His eyes shifted to the display where 3 more human railgun sites were coming online. Their positions hidden from alien sensors until now. Out over the Pacific, the alien fleet adjusted its formation. And from the darkness, long barrels unfolded. From their hulls. They were arming, sir, said the weapons officer. They're charging their plasma batteries. The order from Earth's Central Command came through instantly. Stand your ground above the clouds. One alien ship broke formation and descended lower, its shadow crossing over the railgun platform. The sound of its engines was a deep, bone-shaking. Floodlights cut through the darkness, bathing the platform in white glare. Harris opened a channel. Captain Verith, he said evenly, your ships are trespassing in Earth's defense zone. Withdraw immediately. There was a pause, then Verith's voice came back. Do you really think your primitive cannon can stop us? Harris glanced at his weapons officer. Target their lead ship. Don't destroy it, just take out their primary gun. The railgun began to charge. The hum of the magnetic coils filled the deck. Alien sensors instantly detected the spike of energy. Vareth's voice rose sharply. If you fire the weapon, fired. The projectile slammed into the alien ship's forward gun array, tearing it apart in a shower of molten fragments. The massive vessel lurched sideways, its shields flickering. Its plasma battery went dead. Gasps filled the alien command deck. On the human platform, no one moved, no one spoke. Then, a second later, Vareth's voice came again, quieter, colder. Very well. You have made your choice. The alien fleet began to pull back, but not in retreat. This was repositioning, rethinking. Harris knew this wasn't over. The galaxy didn't forgive humiliation. Far above, the alien ships hung in. Silence, their lights like distant, watching eyes. Below, the Pacific rolled on, hiding the rails of the Earthshaker as they cooled once again. The first clash was over. The real war was about to begin. Galactic trade routes slowed to a crawl. On distant stations, merchants abandoned their stalls to crowd around public holoscreens. In mining colonies carved into asteroids, workers left, their drills silent. Across the galaxy, every species with a data link saw the same shocking footage the moment a human. Railgun shot ripped through the forward guns of a Zalan warship and left it drifting helplessly. The video spread faster than any official council broadcast. It was raw, shaky, taken from alien reconnaissance drones and even human satellites. The projectile itself was too fast for the eye to follow, but the impact was unmistakable. Shields failed instantly. Armor bent like paper. A single shot had done what normally took a full squadron's firepower. In the council chambers, voices rose in chaos. Some demanded immediate retaliation, insisting that a developing species had no right to threaten one of the most advanced fleets in the galaxy. Others urged caution, pointing out that humanity had shown restraint by disabling the ship instead of destroying it. This is not restraint. Admiral Talor spat during the emergency session. This is a predator testing its bite. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the chamber, the Arbiter listened quietly. To him, this was not simply about war, it was about opportunity. Humans could be persuaded, bribed, or tricked into joining. The right side, their weapons could tip the balance of power in galactic politics. But if they could not be persuaded, they would have to be broken. On Earth, Colonel Harris sat in a darkened situation room as a dozen screens flickered with intercepted alien broadcasts. His analysts reported fleets mobilizing in at least 5 sectors. Some of the ships were moving towards Sol. Others were heading away, likely to warn their allies or prepare countermeasures. Dr. Elaine. Carter entered the room carrying a small metal case. She placed it on the table and opened it, revealing a sleek projectile smaller than a human forearm, but etched with intricate magnetic coils. This is the next step, she said. The railgun was just the beginning. Da-da-da-da-da. With this round, we can punch through anything, even their capital ships. Harris looked at it for a long moment. How long before we can field it? 2 months, she replied, if we don't run into interruptions. High above, the Zalan warship that had been disabled limped toward a waiting repair vessel. Inside, Captain Vareth watched the human homeworld shrink on the display. Every moment of the encounter replayed in his mind the cold precision of their aim. The fact that they could have destroyed his ship but didn't. He wasn't sure if that mercy was meant as a warning or a promise. By the next rotation, alien fleets began changing their deployment patterns. Trade convoys now traveled under heavy escort. Long-standing treaties between rival empires were quietly re-examined. Even the most peaceful civilizations began drafting war plans, and in the deepest reaches of the galaxy, far beyond the Council's core worlds, there were whispers of something older than both humans and Zalan forces that had been sleeping for ages, but would not ignore the rise of a new power. The galaxy was no longer watching Earth in curiosity. It was watching in fear, in preparation, and in hunger. The humans had shown their hand, and now the stars themselves seemed to lean closer, waiting for the next move. 1 year had passed since the night the alien task force faced the Earthshaker and left in silence. In that time, the stars above Earth had grown busier. From the ground, people could see unfamiliar lights drifting across the night sky. Some were friendly escorts from new allies. Others were silent watchers whose purpose no one on Earth could confirm. Humanity had changed. The first railgun had been the spark, but what followed was a wave of transformation unlike anything in history. New launch facilities were hidden under oceans, inside mountains, even buried deep beneath ice sheets. Massive orbital platforms now circled the planet, each armed with railguns capable of firing into deep space. In Washington, London, Beijing, and dozens of other capitals, governments that once argued endlessly now spoke with a single voice on one subject: Earth's defense. Colonel Harris, promoted to oversee planetary security, spent most of his time on a fortified station in high orbit, where he could watch both the planet below and the alien traffic beyond. Not all visitors were hostile. Representatives from certain alien factions had come openly, offering treaties, technology exchanges, and, in some cases, warnings. A Yevron diplomat had leaned in close during one private meeting and whispered, "Your enemies will not come from the worlds you know. They will come from the dark between." But others came with less subtle intentions. Intelligence reports showed alien fleets gathering in distant systems, fleets from species humiliated by the Railgun's debut. Some of those ships were already moving toward the edge of the solar system, in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. Far below the reach of satellites, a new generation of railguns sat in silent readiness. They were larger, faster, and deadlier than the first Earthshaker. Their ammunition bays were full, each round designed to punch through the shields of the strongest known warships. Late one night, Harris stood on the command deck of the orbital defense hub, staring at a classified display. A single red marker had appeared on the far edge of the system. It wasn't Zolan, it wasn't any Council fleet. Then, its energy signature didn't match anything in the database. "Sir, his operations," officer said, voice tight, "that whatever that is, it's coming straight for us." Harris didn't look away from the display. "Time to intercept?" "For days," he exhaled slowly. "Then in 3, we fire first." Far below, on the ocean floor, the largest railgun ever built began to draw power. The coils hummed softly, the vibration running through the steel, like the heartbeat of a giant. On the surface, the waves rolled in silence, unaware of the weapon waiting beneath. In the darkness beyond the solar system, the unknown contact kept coming, and as the charge in the railgun grew, so did the tension across the galaxy. The story that had begun with a single shot was about to take its next step. Somewhere out there, something new was approaching, and Earth was ready to greet it the same way it had greeted the galaxy before, with a shot. And this time, they wouldn't aim to miss.